Good day and welcome to Lena Media TV News. I am Victoria, broadcasting from Canada, and these are the top stories for today news. Ethiopia Tigray conflict rape as weapon of war. East African Al-Shabaab collect millions to spend on weapons, report found. Fuel shortage leave Ethiopia Tigray running on fumes. Bringing you this and more in detail after the short break. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome back from that short break. Now news in detail. Ethiopia Tigray conflict rape as weapon of war. The war in Ethiopia has left tens of thousands dead and millions displaced as government troops and the Tigray People Liberation Front battle over territory. A UN investigation found all sides in the conflict had committed atrocities, including rape. Warning, this report contains description of sexual violence. Moving on to the other story, in East African Al-Shabaab collects millions to spend on weapons, reports found. Washington, Somalia Al-Shabaab militant group has an annual budget of $24 million to spend on purchasing weapons, a new report found. The report by Mogadishu-based research group, the Eri-Institute, said the group uses various methods to procure weapons, including direct purchases from local black market and from armed traders contracted to buy and deliver weapons from abroad, mainly Yemen. Hira said acquisition of firemen, ammunition, explosives, and other lethal capacity weapons remain a priority for Al-Shabaab, with nearly a quarter of its budget going to such transactions. Out of annually planned expenditure of approximately $100, Al-Shabaab annual planned expenditure on arms procurement is assessed to be $24 million budgeted monthly at $2 million. The report says. Samila Ged, the executive director of Hero Institute, told VOA Somalia that during research they had access to Al-Shabaab annual budget documentation. They have also interviewed former Al-Shabaab members, clan leaders, business owners, government officials, and other sources who have knowledge of how the group functions. Just like the FGS, federal government of Somalia, the biggest chunk of its resources is currently being spent on security-related expenses. These, of course, include wages and operational costs. Get said, this group also manufactures certain types of ammunition and explosive, and a certain amount of its budget goes towards that. Al-Shabaab has recently increased its attacks in Somalia as parliamentary election continue at sluggish pace. Since last week, the group has carried out multiple attacks in Mogadishu, in the town of Busaso and Biliwen. On Monday, the group claimed responsibility for a roadside explosion which targeted a convoy escorting said Abdullah Deni, the president of semi-autonomous region of Portland. Deni survived the attack, but 2 of his soldiers were killed, and for the biggest chunk, it is the resources currently being spent on security-related expenses. This, of course, include wages and operational costs. Guest said the group also manufactures certain types of ammunition and explosive, and certain amount of its budget goes towards that. Al-Shabaab has recently increased its attack on Somalia. On Saturday, Al-Shabaab also claimed responsibility for a suicide bombing in Balawan in which 15 people were killed and at least 20 others injured. To finance its operations, Al-Shabaab has sophisticated extortion system which it uses to collect money from the business, agriculture and livestock sectors, according to a 2021 United Nations report by the panel of experts on Somalia. Al-Shabaab, well as Islamic State militants, have been collecting extortion money from businesses in Mogadishu for years. Last month, the threat from the Islamic State led to the closure of some businesses that refused to pay extortion money. The stores later reopened after the government deployed security forces. Police also told the businesses they would not have the stores closed except in orders from the government. The store closure forced Somalia Prime Minister Mohamed Hassan Roble to instruct Interior Security Minister Abdullahi Mohamed Noor and the security agencies to come up with a plan to counter the terrorist threat and harassment of traders at Somalia's biggest market. The UN panel of experts report on Somalia estimated that Al-Shabaab now operates around 100 checkpoints throughout the country. In one of the most profitable checkpoints, north of Kismayu town, which sees an average of 30 trucks pass through in a 24-hour period, the panel reported that Al-Shabaab collects an estimated $15,000 to $30,000 per day. He recommended the implementation of several measures aimed at disrupting Al-Shabaab weapons purchases, including the targeting of key militants, explosive experts, targeting individuals involved in the arms trade and countering arms imports from the Gulf of Aden. Now moving on to the last story, food shortage leaves Ethiopia Tigray running on fumes. Most humanitarian aid has gone to a halt in Tigray because of the Ethiopian government de facto blockade of war into the region, which has caused the organization to severely reduce deliveries of life-saving supplies, including food, water and medicine, or suspend them entirely. The government has not allowed fuel into Tigray for humanitarian purposes since August, with the expectation of 2 World Food Program trucks in November. We were getting to a critical point where there is literally nothing left, said an aid worker who spoke to David's home condition of anonymity, fearing retribution from the government. It got to the point where we are just running on fumes or have run out completely. The World Health Organization was allowed to take medical supplies into Tigray this month, the first time since July, but the agency released a statement Monday saying it does not fall to make distribution to health centers. The supplies, which are only a portion of what's needed to respond to the health crisis in region, sits unused in storage. If the fuel situation doesn't improve, it may seriously hamper our ability to work, deepening the suffering of people who have lived through more than a year of conflict. Fatima Sector Public Relations Officer, International Committee of the Red Cross, the 15-month conflict has left people across Tigray as well as the neighboring regions of Afar and Amara with extensive needs. But the government de facto blockade has singled out Tigray, which is home to its advisory, the Tigray People Liberation Front. Fatima Sector Public Relations Officer, International Committee of the Red Cross, the 15-month conflict has left people across Tigray as well as the neighboring regions, Alpha and Ahra, with extensive needs, but the government de facto blockade has singled out Tigray, which is home to its advisory, the Tigray People Liberation Front. This is where I end news on Alena Media TV. I am Victoria and thank you for watching.